Every masked villain has that one moment where the helmet comes off, and suddenly the entire story changes. Sometimes it's just a random bloke or someone you've known all along. Trust me lads, some of these reveals genuinely broke entire fandoms for good. From the very first episode of The Owl House, Emperor Belos barely feels like a person because he feels like a bloody myth. Across the Boiling Isles, everyone accepts him as the Titan's chosen ruler, and without question. Hidden behind an enormous mask, he rarely appears himself, instead letting the Emperor's coven enforce his will while his reputation grows larger with every episode. Nobody knows where he truly comes from, yet every official story paints him as the hero who united the Isles and promises that every sacrifice leads to the mysterious Day of Unity. His confidence is so absolute that an entire civilization stops asking for proof. The mask, the glowing eyes, and the black sludge leaking from beneath his robes only make him more terrifying.
Oh, kneel before Emperor Belos.
The mystery deepens because Belos doesn't even use magic like other witches. He constantly drinks strange green liquid to stay alive, while his body painfully falls apart before stitching itself back together. Then Luz discovers the journals of Philip Wittenbane, a human explorer who arrived in the demon realm centuries earlier. At first, Philip seems like another unlucky traveller, but small contradictions slowly appear. His journal skips important events, ancient beings remember him differently, and Belos reacts strangely whenever Philip is mentioned. Piece by piece, the series quietly suggests that someone has rewritten history for a very personal reason. Eventually, the mask comes off. Emperor Belos is Philip Wittenbane himself, a human from the 17th century. After entering the Dragon Realm with his brother Caleb, Philip becomes consumed by witch-hunting beliefs. When Caleb falls in love with the witch Evelyn, Philip murders him rather than accept his choice. He spends centuries creating Grimwalkers based on Caleb, only to destroy them whenever they remind him of the brother he betrayed. Hunter is simply the latest victim. His decaying body also makes sense because humans can't naturally survive that long in the demon realm, forcing Philip to keep himself alive through forbidden magic and the consumption of the talisman, until almost nothing human remains beneath the bloody mask.
Would you like to see how it works, Hunter? I didn't mean to hide, Emperor Belos.
It becomes clear as the clues were everywhere. Belos hates wild magic because of the beliefs Philip grew up with. He can't use magic like ordinary witches because he never was one. His rewritten history mirrors the lies in Philip's journal, and his speeches about saving humanity become disturbingly literal because he genuinely believes he's the hero. That's what makes Belos such an unforgettable reveal. Long before anyone learns who Amon really is, he manages to achieve something almost no other Avatar villain ever accomplishes. He makes people genuinely question whether the heroes are even on the right side anymore. Republic City is already overflowing with tension between benders and non-benders. Powerful bending families dominate politics, and criminal gangs terrorize ordinary citizens using abilities that most people can't fight again. Then, one masked revolutionary steps onto a stage and calmly tells everyone exactly what they've been thinking for years. Benders have too much power, and somebody finally needs to stop them. That message spreads like wildfire because Amon is not loud or reckless. He never behaves like a madman. He speaks with absolute confidence, wearing an expressionless white mask that immediately becomes one of the most recognizable designs in Avatar history. According to his story, he was attacked by a firebender as a child, leaving him permanently scarred beneath the mask. Those scars supposedly remind him every single day of what bending can do when placed in the wrong hands. Suddenly, the mask is no longer just hiding his identity. It becomes a symbol of every ordinary person who believes that they've been ignored.
This is what a firebender did to me.
What?
Then, Amon performs something completely impossible. Right in front of horrified crowds, he removes people's bending forever. Not blocking it or temporarily weakening it, he completely takes it away. Until that moment, the only person ever shown removing bending permanently is Avatar Aang through energy bending. Yet, Amon is clearly not the Avatar, and he openly claims to hate bending altogether. So how is he performing an ability that shouldn't even exist? That mystery immediately launches hundreds of theories. Maybe he really was blessed by the spirits. Maybe his tragic story was true. Or maybe he actually represented some higher power correcting the world's mistakes. The frightening thing is that the Equalists genuinely believe it. Thousands of ordinary people rally behind Amon because they see him as someone who finally understands their suffering. Every public speech strengthens that image. Every victory over powerful benders makes him seem almost unstoppable. Even Korra struggles because punching your way through this problem only proves part of Amon's argument. The masked leader becomes more dangerous than most villains because his greatest weapon is not bending, but rather it's belief. Once enough people accept his version of reality, the movement practically gains a life of its own. Then, these tiny cracks begin appearing, as Amon somehow reacts with incredible precision during fights, despite claiming to be an ordinary non-bender. He predicts attacks that should be impossible to avoid. People quietly question whether his story actually happened the way he describes it. Eventually, the truth can no longer stay hidden. The terrifying revolutionary who built an entire movement around destroying benders is actually one himself. Amon is revealed to be Noatak, the eldest son in the infamous bloodbender Yakone. As children, Noatak and his younger brother Tarlok were forced together through training by their father, who wanted revenge against Avatar Aang for taking away his own bending years earlier. Noatak grows into an extraordinarily gifted bloodbender, strong enough to control people without relying on a full moon. Rather than rejecting bending completely, he masters one of the most bloody techniques ever created. His legendary ability to remove bending is not spiritual power at all. He secretly uses blood bending to manipulate victims internally while making the process appear mystical.
Where he secretly trained us in blood bending. We kept the truth from our mother.
That revelation completely destroys the image that Amon carefully built. Every speech about equality, every claim that he was just an ordinary victim, every promise that bending itself is evil turns out to be built upon deception. The bloke leading a revolution against benders is secretly one of the strongest benders alive. Yet that twist is what makes him so fascinating. His hatred is still real, but it comes from years of abuse under Yakone, rather than from the tragic story that he tells the public. He reshapes his own past because the truth is not inspiring enough to unite thousands of followers. Looking back, the clues are all there. His flawless reflexes, his impossible powers, and his strangely detailed understanding of advanced bending. Even the calm confidence behind the mask starts making sense once you realise that Noatak has spent his entire life learning how to control people. The white mask doesn't just hide his face, it hides the biggest contradiction imaginable. The leader, promising to erase bending forever, has been lying to everyone from the very beginning. You might expect the final masked villain to be another ancient monster or some hidden tyrant manipulating the world from the shadows. Instead, we get something almost more surprising, because this mystery happens right in front of the heroes every single day. Red X storms onto the scene looking like the coolest criminal imaginable. Black armor, a glowing red X across the chest, and gadgets capable of embarrassing the entire Teen Titans army. The mysterious thief never wastes movement, never loses confidence, and always seems several steps ahead of everyone chasing him.
What? Hey! Yo, who told you how to shut me down?
Unlike most cartoon villains, Red X never feels interested in taking over the world. He steals dangerous technology with frightening precision, breaks into places that should be impossible to infiltrate, and somehow escapes every single time. Even Robin, who normally predicts everyone's next move, struggles to keep up. Naturally, the theories become absolutely mental. Maybe Batman trained another sidekick in secret. Maybe Slade recruited somebody who copied Robin's every move. Maybe this is some forgotten rival from Robin's past. Fans spent ages coming up with increasingly ridiculous explanations because nobody wanted to believe the answer sitting directly in front of them. Sometimes the simplest explanations feel too obvious to actually be correct, and that's exactly what makes this reveal work so bloody well. The strange thing is that Red X never behaves like a proper villain. Yeah, he steals technology, yeah, he fights the Titans, but he avoids unnecessary destruction whenever possible. He seems more interested in completing specific missions than causing chaos. Even when fighting Robin, there's an odd sense of respect between them. Instead of trying to destroy the Titans, Red X almost looks disappointed whenever they fail to keep up. Looking back, it's almost impossible not to notice how every action reflects Robin's own personality. Then, the truth finally arrives. Red X is Robin himself. The terrifying criminal hunting priceless technology has actually been the Titans' leader, working undercover all along. Robin creates the Red X identity to infiltrate dangerous criminal organizations and recover powerful equipment before it falls into the wrong hands. Suddenly, every clue makes perfect sense because nobody knows the Titans' weaknesses better than Robin. Nobody moves exactly like Robin except Robin. Nobody could disappear and reappear so conveniently except the one person organizing the team's whole operation from the inside.
What are they for?
I need to know what we're planning, partner.
You can't expect me to trust you with such sensitive information right away, can you, Robin?
The reveal completely changes how every earlier scene feels. What originally looks like a ruthless criminal humiliating superheroes turns into a hero willingly sacrificing his own reputation for the sake of completing the mission. Robin understands that criminals trust each other. Criminals, not heroes. Becoming Red X allows him to enter places Robin never could. It's an incredibly risky decision because every single undercover operation pushes him closer to becoming the very thing he's pretending to be.
Let go! Stop him!
No, release him!
Slade's getting away! Come on!
Even after another person eventually takes up the Red X identity later in the series, this original reveal remains the most memorable because of what it says about Robin himself. Batman's greatest student is willing to let even his closest friends believe the worst about him if it means stopping something even bigger. The mask never hid an evil mastermind, it hid a hero making impossible choices that nobody else could appreciate. Out of every masked figure in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Blue Spirit is easily the strangest. Unlike villains that we've covered already, this mysterious swordsman barely says a word. He appears out of nowhere wearing a blue demon mask and carves through an entire fortress full of elite Fire Nation soldiers. This bloke moves with impossible speed, uses twin broadswords instead of bending, and somehow fights trained soldiers, as though they're little more than practice dummies. For a brief moment, the Blue Spirit becomes one of the coolest mysteries in the entire series. What makes the character so fascinating is that absolutely nothing about him fits. Fire Nation soldiers attack him on sight, Zhao doesn't know who the he is, and he rescues Aang from imprisonment, yet immediately turns around and captures the Avatar himself. He's not acting like a hero, but he's definitely not helping the villains either. Every decision feels completely unpredictable. The audience starts wondering whether this masked warrior has some secret agenda that nobody else understands. The series quietly leaves clues everywhere. The Blue Spirit fights without bending, despite facing opponents who constantly rely on firebending. He knows Fire Nation military bases surprisingly well. He slips through heavily guarded locations with ease, almost as though he grew up around them. His swordsmanship also feels oddly familiar. At the time, those details are easy to overlook, because the mask completely changes how viewers see it. Instead of looking for someone we already know, everyone starts imagining some brand new character hidden beneath the mask. The Blue Spirit gets his mask removed, and underneath is Prince Zuko himself. It's one of those reveals that somehow feels shocking and completely obvious at the same time. Of course the swordsman fights like Zuko, of course he knows Fire Nation fortresses, of course he risks everything to rescue Aang, because Zhao capturing the Avatar would completely destroy Zuko's own chance to regain his honor. He's not saving Aang because they're friends, he's saving the only opportunity that he believes he has. That reveal becomes much bigger than a simple identity twist, because it marks the first real crack in Zuko's journey. Throughout the series, he constantly believes people fit into neat categories. Heroes, villains, loyal, traitors, yet the Blue Spirit completely destroys that way of thinking. Zuko becomes both rescuer and enemy in the very same episode. He risks his life to free Aang, and then immediately tries capturing him again. It's messy, confusing, and deeply human. Looking back, you realise this is the first major step towards the redemption arc that eventually makes Zuko one of animation's greatest characters. The mask itself becomes symbolic. While wearing it, Zuko is free from expectations. He's no longer the f***ed-up prince chasing approval from his father. He's no longer the failed heir, mocked by everyone around him. He just becomes somebody capable of making his own choices, even if he doesn't fully understand them yet. That's why the Blue Spirit remains such an unforgettable reveal. The mask was never hiding another villain. It was hiding the better version of Zuko that had been trying to escape all along. If you only watched the first few episodes of Miraculous Ladybug, you would probably assume that Moth is just another cartoon mastermind who wakes up every morning and thinks, right then, whose day can I completely ruin today? Every single attack follows the same routine. Someone gets angry, heartbroken, jealous, or embarrassed. A glowing butterfly drifts towards them, and moments later, they become a supervillain with one purpose, being to steal Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous. It's such a simple formula that Moth almost stops feeling like an ordinary person. Instead, he becomes this invisible force hanging over Paris, waiting for one bad mood to turn into complete chaos.
Fly away, my devilish Akuma, and join this troubled soul.
That mystery works because the series barely lets you know anything about him. He spends almost every appearance inside a massive dark chamber high above the city. His silver mask hides every expression. His voice never rises, and even after another embarrassing defeat, he simply creates another Akuma and starts again, as though failure means absolutely nothing. That patience is honestly terrifying, because most villains eventually lose their temper, but Moth never really does. It makes you wonder, what kind of bloke could dedicate every single day to chasing the same goal without ever giving up? The clever part is that the show quietly introduces the answer almost immediately. Adrian Agreste constantly talks about how distant his father has become ever since his mother disappeared, because Gabriel Agreste barely leaves the mansion. He isolates himself from almost everyone, controls every detail of Adrian's life, and spends endless hours locked inside his private office. None of that immediately screams supervillain. If anything, he just comes across as a grieving father throwing himself into work because he doesn't know how to deal with loss. It feels believable enough that most viewers never suspect him straight away. Then, the clues slowly become impossible to ignore. Gabriel always seems conveniently unavailable whenever Moth attacks. His mansion contains hidden areas nobody else can enter. He reacts strangely whenever the miraculous are discussed, and the camera repeatedly lingers on mysterious objects inside his home without explaining why they matter. The writers never shove these hints in your face. They just trust the audience to notice them naturally. Every episode quietly adds another tiny piece until the picture finally starts forming. By the time viewers began seriously suspecting Gabriel, it almost feels too obvious, which ironically makes people doubt themselves. Eventually, the truth arrives. Moth is Gabriel Argrest, Adrian's own father. Suddenly, every strange habit, every suspicious disappearance, and every secret room makes complete sense. The terrifying masked villain had been living under the same roof as one of the heroes the entire time. Yet the reveal goes beyond simple identity, because Gabriel isn't collecting the miraculous, because he dreams of conquering the world. He believes that combining Ladybug and Cat Noir's miraculous will grant a miraculous wish powerful enough to save his wife, Emily Argrest, who remains trapped in a magical coma beneath the Argrest mansion. Every attack on Paris has secretly been driven by one desperate act of love twisted into obsession.
Dark wings, fall!
That motivation completely changes how you view it. Gabriel remains responsible for creating countless dangerous supervillains and putting innocent lives at risk. But unlike many cartoon villains, his actions begin with genuine grief. He simply can't accept losing Emily, and instead of mourning her, he convinces himself that every thing he does is justified, because the reward will erase all of the suffering afterwards. The tragedy is that while he spends every waking moment trying to save his wife, he completely neglects the son who is standing right beside him. Adrian slowly loses the father he still has, because Gabriel refuses to let go of the person that he's lost.
I feel like I've done all I possibly could, you know. I'll never be able to fulfill my wish without Ladybug and Cat Noir's miraculous. Forgive me, Emily.
The most heartbreaking twist is that both father and son unknowingly fight each other, almost every day. Gabriel never realizes Cat Noir is Adrian, and Adrian never realizes Moth is Gabriel. Every battle becomes painfully ironic after the reveal, because Gabriel repeatedly sends akumatized villains after the lad without knowing it. While Adrian risks his entire life to stop his own father, the mask hides Gabriel's face, but it also hides the tragedy destroying his family. Looking back, the reveal feels completely earned, because every clue was sitting in plain sight from the very beginning. Those are some of the greatest masked villain reveals ever put into animation. Every one of them proves that the best twists are never random, because the clues are always there waiting for us. If you enjoyed this one, like and subscribe for more cartoon madness, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheerio!